Did you know that the English longbow was the machine gun of the medieval era, with its effectiveness being far greater than the crossbow? The English longbow, typically made of yew wood, was one of the most powerful weapons in the Middle Ages that could change the course of battles. Measuring up to 6 feet in length, this weapon was highly regarded for its power and accuracy. Trained archers could accurately shoot their target from over 200 yards. The longbow also had a faster rate of fire compared to crossbows. Archers could release up to 12 arrows in a minute, while a crossbowman could only fire a maximum of 3 bolts in the same span of time. Because of this, longbowmen could unleash a devastating rain of arrows upon their enemies, disrupting their formations so the other units could charge in. The medieval archers also required less training time to master the art of the longbow, since the weapon's mechanics were far simpler than that of crossbows. The most significant advantage of the longbow, however, was its penetrating power. An accurate shot could easily pierce through the armor of a medieval soldier. These archers would also fire at charging steeds to take down mounted knights. Without their mounts, heavily armored knights would be rendered immobile, making them almost completely vulnerable. The battles of Crécy and Agincourt were great examples where the English longbow proved its worth. At least until the world was introduced to firearms, English longbows were considered the undisputed king of medieval ranged weaponry. The history of the Middle Ages is rather complex and intricate, with so many events taking place simultaneously. Curious listeners might get confused over time, but that is about to change, as this all-new history audiobook allows you to easily explore the gripping events that took place within this interesting period. Here's just a small fraction of what you'll discover. The fall of the Western Roman Empire, which sparked the beginning of the medieval era. The rise of the Byzantine Empire, which proved the Romans never entirely fell. The emergence of Islam and the Muslims' interference in the European sphere. How the Vikings spread terror across England. The invasions of the Seljuk Turks that sparked the First Crusade. The daunting murder of the Archbishop of Canterbury. How Joan of Arc was burned to death. How the Ottomans breached through the impregnable Constantinople. The start of the Renaissance, an era of rebirth, and much, much more. Here's an excerpt from the audiobook. Once upon a time, the medieval era was known as the Dark Ages. Coined by the famed Renaissance scholar and poet Francesco Petrarch, the period refers to the 900 years of European history between the 5th and 14th centuries. As a man of letters whose ultimate ambition was to revive the classical learning of ancient Greece and Rome, which experienced a moment of temporary extinction following the fall of Western Rome, Petrarch saw the period leading up to his own time to be dull, or rather culturally dark and stagnate. But did his view contain even the slightest grain of truth, or was it just a misinterpretation of the events that unfolded throughout the era? Chapter 1. The Dawn of the Middle Ages. Our story begins in the 4th century CE, when the Roman Empire, once a shining beacon of order and civilization, began to catch a clearer glimpse of its decline. The vast empire, which stretched from the Italian peninsula to Greece, Britannia, Germania, Gaul, and the rich lands of Egypt and Asia Minor, had long been engulfed in internal strife. Ever since the Emperor Diocletian reigned from 284 to 305 CE, divided the empire into an eastern and western half, the Romans witnessed one imperial conflict after another. The Roman emperors often waged wars against each other, vying for more power and absolute control of the empire, with several possibly claiming that they wished nothing but to reverse Diocletian's action and see a united empire once again. While the Romans had their eyes fixed on their own political feuds and crumbling economic state, another colossal power rose in the shadowy realms of the East. They would soon cause a chain of events that greatly contributed to the gradual decay of the mighty Roman Empire, particularly its western half.